Able to see my screen or not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Right. Able to see now?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Great. Okay, so so I'll read out the safe harbor statement. So here both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity only. So here we are not representing our companies. This presentation is strictly for learning purposes. Okay, so whatever the organizer and presenter is presenting, they don't hold any responsibility that the same solution will work for your business requirements as well. And this presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. Some housekeeping rules. So the recording of this meetup will be uploaded to our events page within 24 hours. So you can take a look at that after this meetup is over. And you can submit your questions via chat, or I have made the presenter mode also enabled for everyone. So you can unmute yourself and ask the question. So let's make this meetup more interactive. Okay, and after the meetup is over, you will receive a feedback, a link. So just make sure that you rate this meetup session by filling the feedback form. So here are the organizers. So myself, Vikas, I am the senior consultant at Infosys, and along with me, I have my colleagues from Kilias Consulting, Manpreet, Lavina, and Anil. Okay. Now I will stand over to the speakers for the day. Ananda, you go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks, because thanks for providing us the opportunity to speak in this esteemed forum, Mohali chapter, because Mohali chapter is doing very good, and because of Vikas, I know he is doing lot of. I mean, he is publishing lot of topic, talking on lot of latest MuleSoft features. So coming back to my introduction, I have near around 18 years of experience total, and I working in MuleSoft space more than 5 years, close to 6 years, and yeah, I have completed some of the certifications in MuleSoft, and I love to speak and I love to interact in MuleSoft community. So Madhu, will you be? Do you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Ananda. So first of all, I think thank you, Vikas, from my end as well. Thank you for this opportunity, and we are happy to take this. And myself, Madhulip, I'm currently working with Salesforce, and today I have around 8.6 years of IT experience, and out of those, I worked with MuleSoft for around 7 years, and I love trying new releases coming with MuleSoft, learn things and see what best that I can use this for the client. So and happy to do POCs around. And similarly, I think this is where ACB one we tried and we want to share our knowledge across with the team. And I'm a certified MuleSoft developer and architect. And over to you, Ananda. And before that, I wanted to thank each one of you for taking your time in your weekend and be here. I think we appreciate that. And we wanted to utilize this session to share the knowledge that we have and wanted to hear more from your experiences and would like to hear more of your challenges. I think as Ankit have shared with us. And if you have something we are happy to learn from you as well.
That's great. Thank you, Madhu. Thank you, Ananda. I'd like to add that Ananda is a MuleSoft ambassador as well, so that's a great achievement. And I met Ananda in last week in the Mule Dreaming event. Yep, it was great interacting with you, Ananda, and hope to meet you in the future as well.
Sure, sure, because
Sure.
same
So
here.
let's move forward.
Yeah,
So, yep, here is the
yeah.
agenda. Yep, go ahead, please.
So this is, I mean, basically what we'll do. I mean, because Anypoint Code Builder, nothing much to discuss theoretically. So I will quickly talk about what is Anypoint Code Builder, how I find that this code builder is becoming, I mean, aiding us with or empowering us as a developer more, and then I will hand it over to Madhu, who will actually do the entire walkthrough. And we are
Sure.
planning at least to show how to create a raml in code builder, and then how we can create a flow and deploy it into cloud hub. And if time permits, then probably we can go beyond that, and we will do some of the I mean, we will explore some of the additional things. So yeah, I have put some animation, and pardon for that, because this was, I mean, I usually used to do that, but yeah. So I would not go through these slides. Rather, I will tell you some stories so that you can understand that why Anypoint Code Builder I found it's very much useful for developer community. So these are some. I mean, in my earlier engagement with some of my customers, when I start working with MuleSoft, I face few challenges. So challenges number one, I work into a customer space. I start working, and my customer told that, okay, you guys are here to implement MuleSoft. You are all experts, so I am not going to give you access to my design center. So you start working on your RAML creation on your IDE or whatever you want to do. But design center, I'm not. It's only for my people who are not that much great in. I mean, who are still learning MuleSoft. So problem is that if I don't have a design center, it becomes very much tedious process to create a RAML from scratch. Okay. Now, suppose my IDE can give me a feature similar to Design Center, then I should not have any problem, right? I can directly start working, creating my RAML, and then I can use that RAML to build my flow. So, answer to my problem at that point of time, it was not there, but in today's day, the answer to my problem is Anypoint Code Builder. Then second thing is that suppose, I mean, for another customer, we were supposed to jumpstart on some development activity. Problem was that there are a lot of network connectivity because I have my ID or Anypoint Studio in my local laptop. I was working from my company's network, and I have to connect to my customers some of the end application to test my integration and all, and that needs lot of processes. I need to raise tickets to open the ports and all. And I feel that if I have a web-based ID like we have in Dell Boomi or some of the other products, so that will definitely benefited me, because my team can immediately start doing at least some POC, some work, and then once all this network issue got resolved, then we can start in the full fledged. I mean, we can start development at full scale. Again, the answer to my problem is Anypoint Code Builder, because this time Anypoint Code Builder is coming up with a web version of IDE. Yeah, it has also launched a desktop version of IDE, but web version of IDE also, I mean, it has one great advantage is that you can immediately start your development, because everything is in web and you need not to do anything. When you just click, I mean, one button, it will launch the IDE for you, pre-filled with all necessary run times and everything. So that's the easier way to enable a developer team. And third thing is that uh, I always used to do a lot of code review for my team, and sometimes what happened, we have some very specific requirement or very specific what should I say, standard, which is specific to a customer, and we need to maintain across. So giving you an example, suppose you face a customer who wants that all the HTTP connectors should have a 30-second timeout limit, and you need to maintain it across all your development. Now imagine in a that you are managing a team of 15 people, and they are developing at least 15 to 20 API at scale. Now if you have to manually call, I mean, this is small thing, right, that you have to manually take care or manually surveillance that all your developers, every time they're using a HTTP connector, they are putting this timeout parameter properly or not. How much tedious it is, right? I mean, it's a small thing you need to maintain, but a lot of effort you need to put. Again, I mean, if time permits, Mozu will show that there is a process, or there is a feature in Anypoint Code Builder which is called code snippet, using which you can pre-configure your event processor or your connectors, and inside that you can predefine all your standards, and your developer can, I mean, instead of writing everything from scratch, they can directly import that connector with all this predefined feature or configuration and use it in their code. So no need to, I mean, there is a less chance that your developer is missing something which is set up as a standard in that particular customer context. So these are some of the reason why I think MuleSoft Anypoint Code Builder is going to be the next gen IDE for the developer community. Now, if your question is that whether Anypoint, what will happen with Anypoint Studio, as of now, we don't have any news that Anypoint Studio will go away. Anypoint Studio will stay, but you can see that Anypoint Code Builder is another IDE available, and that's why I explain you with three situations. So if situation demands, you can very well use this Anypoint Code Builder to solve some of the problem that I faced in earlier some of my engagement. So this is, yeah. So, okay.
Yep. So Ananda, like to add to your point to that Anypoint Studio,
Yeah.
right? So in this week, like there was a session from the Microsoft product team, right?
Yeah.
So there I asked that question, like what would happen to Anypoint Studio. So I got the answer that eventually it will be phased out.
Correct. But it's
Yep,
not in a near future because it
yep,
will
yep. It's
take
not.
time.
Yes,
Because the reason is that Anypoint Code Builder, I mean, sorry, Anypoint Studios, they are over more than 10 plus years. It's over the
right.
time it's become so matured that we cannot deny the fact that still we need Anypoint Studio, because Anypoint Code Builder still it is evolving and it's not yet come with its GA version. It will come with GA version very soon. I think this October it will
October.
come.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
So, and yeah, since you joined that session, because you also understand that Anypoint Code Builder now it will be enhanced with some of the AI capabilities. That's the
capabilities.
plan. Yeah.
yep, yep.
And some of the old folks like me who are thinking that web version ID, but we have a designer flow also earlier. To answer that question, designer flow was there, but it is now not there because designer flow didn't become popular because it has a lot of restriction. I mean, only if you can want to create a very simple flow like hello world kind of flow, designer flow was useful for that, but that's why it's not gained popularity and it's become obsolete from the overall product offering by Salesforce. Okay,
Okay.
so this one I don't want to go through because this is actually steps how you can set up any point code builder. Rather, yeah. So next
Sure.
slide is some of the known issue and limitation. Now, one thing is that uh, no special licensing, Sanghamitra. So if you have a any point if you have a any point platform access, or you can go ahead and use your code builder,
But
but
for now, it
you
is in
need
beta
some
version. But for
it's
now,
a
it is
beta
in beta
version.
version.
So you have to sign off an agreement and you have to give some privileges that will show that some
Yeah.
permission you need to give so that you can start using it. So known issue and limitation, I would strongly recommend please go for the documentations in MuleSoft Docs. The reason is that every month MuleSoft is putting additional feature and I mean fixing the issues on any point code builder, because it is evolving very fast. So whatever I am showing you right now, it might not be relevant within a week or next week. They will come up with some solution. And second thing is that if you have any issue, if you found any bug, you can also go ahead and log your bugs there is a GitHub access, I mean a repository provided where you can directly raise your ticket and development team will very quickly act on that. Now, since it's in beta version, till now you are not supposed to do any kind of production delivery using this. I mean, you don't are not supposed to do any kind of development which you are planning to deliver in your production using any point code builder. But yeah, for your understanding purpose or do a POC or R&D, definitely you are more than welcome to do that. So give me one moment. Let me share my screen.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Sure. Yeah, no, no, go ahead.
yeah. So I Yeah, so if you can see my screen, so this is the Anypoint code builder. This is my trial version Anypoint platform. So where from, if I go to, if I click on code builder, it will open this Anypoint code builder. But before that, what I need to do, first time if you try to access Anypoint code builder, there will be you will see a message which will ask you to, click on a agreement, license agreement. Once you agree, then you have to give a permission, specific permission to your users so that they can use the Anypoint code builder. So I'm going to access management, and if I come here, see, if I add the if I click on add permission, there is a specific permission for Anypoint code builder. I have to provide this permission, and then uh, I have to give the business group. And yeah, so once done, then my develop whoever is getting that permission, they are now they're good to go with using Anypoint code builder. So once I use Anypoint code builder, I think I need to reshare it once again, because I share just one moment, let me share it. Okay. So once I launch the Anypoint code builder, I will come to this web version of Anypoint code builder. So first thing, what usually I do, okay, before I going to anything else, let me show you something. So you can come to, once you launch this Anypoint code builder, you will come to this welcome mat. So if you are not able to see this welcome mat, you can go to file, you can go to help, and you can click on welcome. It will click on this. It will take you to welcome mat. So from welcome mat, you can just go to get started with VS Code. And for Anypoint code builder is entirely developed on top of VS Code, both ID, cloud ID as well as the desktop ID. So I can choose the look I want. So I just choose a dark theme. You can click on a light theme, and you can change your theme over here. So that is how you can change the theme. And then if you click on this MuleSoft Anypoint code builder, then it will take you to that MuleSoft plugin, and through which you can use your designer API, implement your API, or develop your integration. And if you uh, click on the extension, you will see that your in case of in case of cloud based ID, these extensions are automatically installed for you, so you can just come and directly start using your Anypoint code builder. And before starting Anypoint code builder, you have to log on so that your Anypoint code builder can connected with your your Anypoint platform. So for that, it is showing I'm not logged in, so I will just click on allow, and it will ask me to open. I'll open, and it will just trying to connect Anypoint code builder with my uh, Anypoint platform access. So now it is connected. Okay, so if you come here, you will see that with my user ID is appearing. That means I'm now connected. And next thing is that when once you connected to this Anypoint code builder, or once you are in Anypoint code builder, if you want to see that the logs generated by these extensions, you can come to this output, and then in here, and if you want to know how you come to output, so you have to go to all the way, view, and here you will get an option output. So if you click the output, this particular window pane will open, and from this drop down you have to select Mule DX server. So once you have Mule DX server, you can see the logs generated by all these extensions, so you will know what is going on. Okay, so other than that, I think, yeah, so if you want to, let me show you, yeah, uh, I'm trying to find out where from. Yeah. So if you go to this view, you will see the command palette. You can use your keyboard also, Control Shift P, or you can directly from here also you can click on command palette. And if you click, I mean, uh, type MuleSoft, you will see all the MuleSoft related, I mean, whatever extensions are imported into your VS Code, from that you can perform all this operation, MuleSoft related operation. So I think these are the things I want to show. I don't want to waste much time because Madhu has to cover a lot of ground. So from this point onwards, Madhu, you want to start sharing your screen? I can stop
Yes,
it.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. So over to Madhu. Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying
Stop
to share.
sharing.
Okay, just confirm me once you're able to see my screen. Okay. So before I further proceed, Sangamitra, I just got one new account created. So I'll just take from the steps. I think Ananda has given us a high level view. I'll take time to just go through them step by step. And so once we logged in, so this is first time user, so accessing the code builder. Now what happens here is we need to go here and just say get started, and here you get to see this is how actually you get. So you'll get an option to give authorization to your Anypoint code builder to access your Anypoint platform. So once you provide this approval only, then you can go ahead and access your Anypoint code builder to create any APIs or to what however you want to work around this Anypoint code builder will support. And you need to provide the user access. I think Ananda has shown us right how to give this access. This should be good. Let's consider we gave them the access. I'm closing this account for now. I just thought to show this. That's where I created one for now. Okay. Now, as Ananda mentioned, we are currently focusing on Anypoint Code Builder desktop version. So similarly, I just click on Code Builder. We navigate to this page, and here you have two options: Anypoint Code Builder web version or Anypoint Code Builder desktop option. Now let's consider if you want to use this, right? We need to click on install. If you are a first time user, you'll go navigate here and you have good documentation around what are the latest prerequisites that we need for us to have a smooth run in your Anypoint code builder. Now I'll just say install. It will open the Anypoint Studio, and you should have this studio. As I have Studio already, and I have installed this version. Now, what happens here is when you install this Anypoint extension pack, you get all the related extensions which are related to your data view, API extension, integration, runtime. So I think this is one important. So rather than installing one by one, we have MuleSoft has provided us option as a pack which is still in the pre-release. So when you are installing right, it will not allow to install pre-releases. So what you need to do is you just need to drop down here and just click on install pre-release one. It will install. And till now we are good. So if you have any questions, do let me know. If not, I'll continue creating one sample API. Right? Installation part was clear, right? So how to set up in the local. Okay, I'll take it as an
Yep,
S.
yep, it's clear. Yep,
Okay.
let's move forward.
Okay, perfect. Now, first thing that we need to do is we need to log into this. So we'll navigate here and we'll just say uh, not logged into Anypoint platform. I'll just give approval to sync my account to my local Anypoint studio. Just wait a second. Yeah, now I got my learning account synced here. Now, what we do is as a first step is I am into my home page, but I could not find the MuleSoft. You can go here, Anypoint Code Builder. So we have different quick actions that you can utilize for us to either to design API or implement an existing API, or if you want to develop anything from scratch. What we do is we'll try to design one API first, then we'll go step by step process. Let's consider, I'll just say we want to create one API, one, let's say authors API, and I'll use, you can create in your local folder. I'll just create one in my desktop. I'll just say meetup folder. I'll use it for in my local project location. And let's consider we'll select RAML and I use business personal group. And this group is coming from here. So this is my personal group. How many groups that we have, you get to see in your studio. Now we'll wait for a couple of seconds. Yeah. Now I think Anandam given us one good point there. Let's consider if we don't have access to Design Center. If you want start typing it, right? Earlier in Anypoint Studio, what you need to do is you need to manually write, and you don't have an option to get the suggestion. Let's consider you want to write something here. So let's consider after writing this. If I want to write my sample ramble, how I used to do, I'll just say here version, and let's consider version 1.0 like this, and I'll just start updating my endpoints. But you don't have an option to get suggestions across. But what is the beauty of this Anypoint code builder extension is, let's consider if I'm on Mac, if I can use command shift p, command and space, it will give me start giving me suggestions around. Let's consider if I want add an endpoint. Okay, I'll just say users. Okay, and I'll just give control space again. It will give me options. Let's consider I can write description, or else after writing description, let's consider I want to add any methods, right? So here you get to see, I think you get all the predefined suggestions how you used to get in your design center. Similarly, you can utilize this to write your raml without an impact. And what is the main advantage of this is you have no manual errors. It will not impact your raml. You'll get your predefined structure perfectly. So to keep time in picture, so I have one raml. Let me copy that. We have created one raml. I'll try to utilize that one. Let's consider we have the raml now. So if I want to test this once before even publishing this, how? Let's consider I want to mock my own API. So you have an option here. If you go to your right hand side, if you click on this API console, so it will try to read your raml. So how you used to get in your design center, you can mock your API once, then you can publish. If you think, okay, everything is working as expected, let me try this, and I'll just say send. You get to see expected examples, right? So you can test your API end to end, similarly how you used to do that in your design center. Now, let's consider this is my API, and well and good. If I want to publish this, what I need to do is MuleSoft have an option which help us. I'll just say I'll search for MuleSoft. Here we get to see all the options that MuleSoft have, which operation that you want to use. Let's consider now I created an API. Now what I need to do is I need to publish this API to Exchange. Now what I do is I'll just drop down here and select this publish API specification to Exchange. Now you have uncommitted changes. Okay. Now, similarly, how we used to do this in your local repository syncing, right? What I need to do is I need to commit my changes. Where I can commit this is, so if I go to my design center, I'll just open one design center in a sample one. We have branches, right? So I'll just quickly open one. Um, so let's consider if I open any one. So default, we used to have a master branch, right? So similarly, whatever the code that you are syncing here will be going to your master branch. So first we need to commit these changes. Now, what I'll just say is, what are changes that I have? I'm say, okay, I'm good. I'll just say yes. Now here I just say initial version. So this is my commit message, and I'll just say yes. Okay. Now I am syncing this to my master batch. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Now I have my API. So what I do is I'll just open Exchange. We don't have an authors API now. But in Design Center, whatever the changes that we are doing already got synced. So here we get to see the authors API, which was created right now in September 30th. It already got synced. Okay. So if you want to test, we'll just update one more endpoint. Okay. Here we have other updated, right? I'll just say updated, but not actually. So what I do is I'll come here, I'll just commit this message saying a second version changes. I'll just commit this message and I'll sync this with my master batch. Okay, I'll just refresh this page. Let me wait for this readers. Okay, here we get to see, right? So now you don't need actual design center access. Now whatever you are doing in your local, it is getting automatically synced to your design center. If anyone wants to access through this web also, they can access your latest changes. Now you got a doubt, might get that doubt saying that if I want to create a new branch, so we have an option to create the new branch as well. So within this source control, you can come to the source control and drop down and go here, create the branch. You can create the branch from which branch. Let's consider master branch, and you can merge the branch. However we do, you can go ahead and utilize all the options that you have. Okay, in interest of the time, I'm not going here. Now I'll just step back. Now what we were doing, so now I have my API. Now I need to publish this API. Now what we do is I'll just go here and select this MuleSoft API specification to exchange. Okay, now I'll just say authors API. I'll use the same name, and artifact ID also is same, and I want version 1.0 and version v1. Now what happens here is, here we can to see our API is trying to get published to my exchange. So we'll wait for a couple of seconds. Okay, what it says. You got it. Just let me try to.
Yeah, I think there is a problem in the publishing, Madhu. It seems like there's
Yes, yes, yes,
some.
yes.
One second.
Stop and define put out.
So, Bodhu, can you check your organization ID when you're publishing? I think your organization ID is,
Yeah, that's right. The concept is
Organization ID.
yeah. So, can you check? I think these are different. Yeah, go to access point.
Hmm.
mm,
It's got like 78278.
copy this one.
F9. This is the same one.
Someone,
7, 8,
Seven.
F9. Yeah, it is.
it's complaining about the organization ID. Do one thing, Madhu. You can go and give yourself access to publish on Exchange. So, can you go to, yeah, from here?
I given, I guess. So yeah, Anypoint code builder I have given access.
No, Anypoint code builder is there. I mean, to
Publishing.
publish Exchange, you have another, yeah, Exchange file.
Yes. Exchange publishing for the
Yeah, just select
exchange
all.
Okay, I
contributor.
removed access. Okay.
That
Yeah.
contributor, yeah, that should be good.
Okay. Right. I removed, I guess. I just wanted to walk through everything I missed.
Yeah. No, no.
Yeah, yeah. No problem.
Exchange.
Now it should work.
Let me go back. Okay, let me publish this once again.
No, there
Hmm,
is no
I should
problem.
I should have an admin access, but properties are registered. Good. Just give me a second.
There is a problem with the some bad type or something. That's what I saw. 400 error.
Oh, it's
Or
not. It's
okay,
showing that org ID. It's not appearing, right?
something org ID, but here
Hmm.
exchange.json it is same. But for now, so I'll just jump into, let's
Hmm.
consider we understood how we publish this, right? Like I have already one API. What I do is I'll just say implement an API. For this, I'll try to get this one of the API which I deployed already into my exchange. I'll use this demo. What I do is, as a first step, I created my API. After that, if I start need to work on writing the code across for that, I'll just say authors experience API. Let's consider. I'll just say authors experience API, and I'm using this meetup location, project location. And in the asset, I'll just search for the demo one, which I already have published this here. Okay, I'll just say create project.
Yeah, Madhu, can you do one thing? Oh,
Hmm.
like, no,
Okay,
no.
what happened? Huh.
Okay. No. I was just want to show the filters option. Okay, that's okay. It's a
Okay,
small thing.
we can try one more. So I
Yeah,
think I can go back there. So implement an API. So you want to say demo?
yeah. You just
Uh,
enable that show
okay.
filter. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
So
Here we
for the
get to see.
audience, yeah. So you
Understand.
can
Understand.
correct.
Right. Here you can search if it is REST APIs or if you have any other. And let's consider MuleSoft have predefined. And if you want to reuse this across, let's consider if you are dealing with finance, you will get similarly matching with your finance. And I'll remove this search filter. So here you have a pay all orders API, which you can start reuses across, and these are MuleSoft default one that we can
Predefined.
get it from, yeah, predefined ones that we can get it from your exchange. Okay, I'll just go one step back. Now we have this API, right? Now what happens here is, so difference between web and there is, so you get to see, I'll just open this folder in my desktop, meetup. Now we created all this experience API. You get to see all your code will be inside this, and already a jar was created. Now what happens here is when it's trying to scaffold, it will scaffold and create a jar in your deployment jar in your target folder, which you can reuse. So this is how the structure looks in the background. Now what happens here is we'll try to understand the flow structure. On the left hand side, so where you can use this UI way to add any new component or connector that you have. On the right hand side is your XML way of representation, the code. Now, before we further proceed on, so what I do is I wanted to debug and see whether input and output paths that I have is correctly working or not, and how they are behaving. So what I do is first and at most I'll just go to here API. I'll just say deploy. Okay, we want to test this once, right? What I can do is I'll just go run. I'll just say start debugging. Now, if I want to access API, right, I have host 0.0 and 8081 part. So it means how you used to run in your Anypoint studio, it will be the same one. You don't need to worry about how you are running, how you want to access. Let me try to find the path. One is get users dot others. I think I should have one already created one. So my local host 8081 API slash user slash others. We'll wait for the API to get deployed. Okay, we have the API deployed. Now what I do is I'll just try to access API. All right, well and good. So similarly, how you used to run in your studio, the same way you access. Okay, I'll just take one step back. So you might got a question. Let's consider Madhu, if you have the same in web, is it different? The answer is yes. So what I do is, in interest of time, I'll just open one of the API that I already predefined, the same one here in here. So what I do is I'll just start debugging the same one. What I do is file and I'll just say run and start debugging. So now what happens here is for us to access the one in the web, what we need to do is I need to go to my Anypoint code builder. Here in the launch page, I need to check my IDE details. So I have this URL, right? This will be my host URL. Okay, if I want to access this page, right, what I need to do is I just need to paste this here, and I need to add proxy, and I'll just go here. Once wait for the application to start. Okay, my application is started. Now what is the endpoint that I have here? Flow name, just path is slash API here. Okay, slash API.
Yeah, Madhu, I think 8081 will be after proxy. I think. I mean, convention is that, I mean, instead of, yeah, slash proxy slash 8081 slash API. I think that is how I understand.
Okay, right. I think my bad. I was giving you the wrong word. So now what happens here is, so whatever you have here, right, you are able to access it successfully. You get to see, I think I have a logger which says hello. You are able to access this one. Why exactly you are able to access without any issue here is, you are trying to access this within your Anypoint login same access. Now let's consider if I create any incognito window and if I try access this one, it won't give you access. It will ask you to log in first, then only you can try hitting this one. Okay, so now if you are into your Anypoint login, and you can access this directly from the browser, but this will help us to use or test for only get endpoints. Let's consider if you have any post operations of how you can access this. So what you can do is you need to create, let's consider if I want to access from postman. I created one already. So what I do is I'll just reuse the same one, the same URL. I'll just use the same URL. Let's consider there is one header that we need to pass, but I won't go. Let's consider what will happen if I try to access this from a postman. You will get 200 response, but you won't able to access your application directly. For this, what I need to do is I'll just go to here, developer. Sorry, one second. I just need to go to developer mode. More tools, developer tools, then application already there, storage and cookie. So now here what you need to do is you have something called proxy session. You need to search for proxy. You get to see one proxy session key and values. So what I need to do is I need to copy this proxy session header value key, and I'll just say I'll copy this. What I need to do here is I'll just create one header with name as cookie, and for this value I need to paste this one, and let's go here. It did not copy it completely. Yeah, so I'll just say equal to, and there is a value that I should copy now. I'll copy this value, append this. I'll just try to, yeah. So here if you see, it is coming successfully. Now what is the difference is you need a proxy session every it so here if you see the cookie with your host will create one proxy session. We can use this proxy session to access your application which is deployed in your web version of Anypoint code builder. So this is how actually we access any of your APIs which are deployed on our web versus how you test it in your local Anypoint code builder. Now what I do is I'll just stop this API here. I'll just take this further. Now till
Yeah.
here, are we clear or anyone have any questions here? So
Madhu, can you go
hmm,
back to your Anypoint platform? I
hmm.
mean, where the manage ID, where you are showing that manage ID required.
In
That
developers
URL.
control, developers.
No, in the Anypoint platform, where from you get that URL from that.
Okay, get the URL. Okay, I
Yeah.
think I'll just go here. More tools, developers tool. Application here, yes.
No, no, not this one. Where
No.
from you actually your ID, you launched the ID, right? So that
Okay, okay, this one. Okay, got it.
welcome page. Yeah, correct, correct. So I just want to add one more thing. So if you want to reboot, because this is the place where from you can control your
Mm,
ID. So if you want to reboot your ID, sometime with the web ID it needs to be restarted. So if you want to do that, you can reboot it. You can delete your ID, but one no, I mean note of caution is that if you delete your ID
you'll
from here, you will lose all your projections. Okay, so yeah, okay, go ahead.
Right. And I think Ananda, you got a good point. So I think if you delete, you will lose, but in your Anypoint code builder, as you have everything in your local repository, you have your changes available for you. And there is one more option. Let's consider if I'll just stop this API running. You can control your flow here, but we'll just go. I'll just wanted to show you one point. You can connect your GitHub. So let's consider you want to connect your GitHub. You can control your code from login to your GitHub, and you can do other options. For now, I'm just not logging in. And thank you for getting that good point, Ananda. So team, if you have any other questions before we further proceed and see, put log point and we'll debug and see how exactly at what point, what data that we have. Anyone have any questions before we further proceed here?
So,
Hmm.
yeah, I just have a
Yeah.
quick question. So, regarding the scaffolding part, suppose
Hmm.
if we are creating a project freshly in is Code Builder by creating the
Hmm.
RAML, so you mentioned that there is a automatic scaffolding and it is creating that author's jar, correct?
Right.
Once we have that RAML in place. Okay, so now the pom.xml is also getting created. Now the question is, do we have the facility in Code Builder to add any dependent pom or any dependency plugin manually from Exchange? Suppose if
Yeah.
I have a RAML,
Yes.
if I
Yes.
want to add up some dependency which is already published in Exchange, we have the flexibility
Yeah.
from connecting to ACP to Exchange via the extension pack that we understood. Suppose I have a logger, maybe a JSON logger, and I want to get that added into my project, maybe manually. So once I manually add it in the dependency, will it be still parsed, or I mean,
Yeah,
how
it
we
will.
are going?
It will
Yes.
be
Yeah.
passed. It you
Okay,
won't see any impact, and you can directly add this in the form. You can get to see, or else you can just say Control Shift. You get to say MuleSoft, and let's consider now you want to import something from asset from Exchange. You can select this, and here let's consider you want to get an API or library or graphical connector. Let's consider you want to use data view library for suppose. You can select, you can search for asset name or whatever you have. It will directly get and add it to your form and you get to see that.
Yeah, and on the same note, I mean, since Sangomitru asked this question, to your data weave to work properly in any point code builder, you need to add a dependency manually. That
Extension.
is the data weave, yeah, extension, enterprise extension for data weave. That doesn't come by default in the beta version, so you need to do that manual adjustment. So yes, you can add dependency manually.
got it.
Okay.
Like most of the time, we have some common apps or
Right.
maybe
Correct,
some
correct, yeah.
your handling framework
Yes,
generalized across your application set.
Right.
Yeah. So some
yes, you can
question
do
on
that.
this. Okay.
Okay. Then what we do
So
is,
Madhu, I have a
oh yeah,
question. So
sure.
basically, to get started with this ID, so we
Hmm.
have to learn the VS code also, right? Then.
No need actually. So if how you do in any point studio, it will be the same, but you need understanding of how exactly the XML looks in. That's where any point code builder helps with this UI version. So let's consider if you have this right tomorrow, if you want any connector, you can select from this which connector you want, and this UI representation will help us a lot. And Visual Studio, if you have experience or knowledge, that's gonna help you more, but it's not a mandatory to kickstart here.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, because you, from your point, yes, I mean, if you are familiar with Visual Studio, probably you can understand where to find the help and how to open the comment palette. But yeah, once you get habituated, I think for, as Madhu mentioned, for raml creation and API, you don't need to. I mean, you don't need a lot of knowledge on VS.
Got it. And one more thing, like you
Yes.
were mentioning that deleting the ID from web will remove our projects as well.
If
And
you
we
delete,
have it where like we prefer desktop over ID over web ID then.
It's
Yeah,
your wish. Normally, you can keep web, and if you don't need to reboot or delete, right? If you want to create repo, so there also you can. If I go back, right? So do I have this ready? Okay, restart. What we can do is you can create your own folder locations, multiple folder locations, and you
yes,
can reuse this. So we don't need to worry much. I'll just show you that option.
correct.
I'll
So
just
all your
say.
running project will
Mhm.
be gone because from the ID, but if you keep it in a repository and as Madhum
Uh,
show that you have a direct access to GitHub,
right,
or if a local folder structure also you can keep it. So in
right.
that case, you can again reboot or I mean, once you create the new ID, you can again
Import from all these
re-import,
applications.
yeah, re-import all those
So
projects.
let's consider I have this already code here, right? If I open this folder, it will try to fetch all the APIs. Let's consider if I have existing APIs and everything, it will try to import from this here. So let's consider you get to see a couple of APIs which we have already tried or which I tried previously. So you get to see all these informations here. So all the data will be stored inside of your home repository. So wherever you have, so if I go open fold here, right, by default it will come here like this. Let's consider if you want to create a new folder, you get to go ahead and create. For this, what you need to do is, so similarly how you access, right, I'll just say I want to access terminal. I'll just go and open the terminal. Let's consider here, if you are dealing with different projects and you need different folders, right, I'll just say make mkid here. I'll just say demo1, new folder will get created. Now I'll try to access this one. So I'll just say demo. Yeah, here if you get to see demo1 is created. Now you can create your multiple folders and you can access this. So what happens here is when you delete, so this is created. So here you get to see there is one image created for your Anypoint code builder. When you delete this, this image itself will be deleted. Now when you create a new image, right, the new image will not contain the data that you have created and initiated in your previous one, right? That's the reason reboot have access to open anything, but delete does not have. That's what we wanted to showcase here. But in
Okay,
your local, you have your everything in your local folder, or if you have git that you have plugged in with, you can publish there. Let's consider if you have the similar process. Let's consider you have deleted this, but if you have connected your github here also, you have your all data in your github.
got it.
Okay.
Yep,
And we I hope we have answered your questions.
yep. All
Perfect.
good. Thank you.
Then in that case, I'll proceed to the next point. Let's consider. So now we have tried to just to access our API. Tomorrow, let's consider I want to debug at certain point and see what exactly is happening here. Okay, once I get this request here inside of my flow, okay, so I'll just wanted to see what exactly happening here flow and what are the different variables that I have, anything that I want to do. What I do is you can just click on here, you get to see a breakpoint. You can add a breakpoint like this. And now what we do is I'll just go run, I'll start debugging once again. So now one difference that you're gonna see is the API, sorry, the application will wait there and we get to see what are the different variables and what is your structure or at that certain point. We just wait for the API to start. So team just wanted to request in the interest of time, it was 5 minutes past of our planned time. So if anyone are okay or have any challenges, do let us know or else we'll continue with the presentation. Okay. We are good to proceed then.
Yep.
So I'll just say I'll try to hear. So now here, if you see, I haven't received the response in my postman. My flow got at my current my flow is at my breakpoint. You get to see it was highlighting here, and we get to see what is my correlation ID for that transaction ID, and what are the different variables if we have initiated any, if you have any parameters. Let's consider your parameters any coming in, you get to monitor everything. And let's consider tomorrow you want to test anything, you can use, so this is my path, this is my method. This is how actually you can debug your application by keeping multiple breakpoints and test your API. And let's consider if you want to proceed this, right, you get to see a navigation option here. I'll just say next. It will try to process my application. I should see a response in my post. Okay, so till here we are good. Now you are able to understand, right, what is breakpoint and how we do this. Now I wanted to cover one more point which Ananda mentioned, which is snippet file. Okay, for that what I do is I'll just go back here. I'll just stop everything and we'll close this one. We'll create this new one only. Now we'll discuss two options that we have here. Now let's consider at this certain point of my flow, which is here. If I want to go to different flows, right, you get to see different options. When you go to the flow list, you get to see what are your flows that you have. Let's consider I want to go to my get flow. When you click on the get flow, this is your get flow UI representation. Now within this, if I want to add a logger, let's consider add a logger. You have an option called add, and there are different components that you have that you can use. Let's consider you want to create a batch processing, if you want to write an error handling, or do if you want to create any transform message, you can use this. Let's consider we are if we want to deal with any of the connector, you can select this one. Let's consider if we want to deal with the logger, right? I'll just search for logger, and here you get to see the logger is created. But when you open in Anypoint Studio, you used to get logger, what is the logger name, what is the logger value and everything. But here when you see, it was not getting created automatically. For this, what we need to do is, there is, I'm just removing this. What we can do is, there is an option called snippets. So snippets are your predefined one that we can define. Let's consider there are two different. One is built-in, so there are built-in like this already HTTP configuration default ones that you have, or as a user you can create your snippet. So for this, there will be file called mule.json file will be created, and we have one snippet which we have got in place. I'll just try to use that one. I'll just replace everything here. And here I have copied one snippet. So I'll try to explain you. Let's consider we were discussing about logger, right? I'll just share you one logger example. So this is my logger snippet. So you can ask me why exactly I need to define a snippet. Now, what happens if you have a snippet here is you can reuse a snippet. I think one example, if I say Ananda mentioned that if a user needs to update HTTP endpoints or HTTP requester with a timeout of equal value of 30 seconds everywhere. And now I don't want to be dependent on developer to manually update every other value. For that, what I can do is I can create one mule snippet which is related to my HTTP request configuration and use that to define in your application wherever you have. So we'll see how we can access there, but let's consider step by step. So I'll just highlighted this one, right? The first one here, the prefix is there, and on top of that, there is a logger. Now this logger is that what displays when you're trying to access the snipper. When you say that mule automatically comes in, right? So similarly, how automate suggestions used to come, this snippet file will be automatically loaded in the backend. Now, if you are when you are getting suggestions, this will be accessible. Now, this prefix that you have initiated, right? This prefix field is a trigger text for your snippet. Now, let's consider if you start typing logger, this prefix will get displayed. Now, when you get this prefix, you don't want this to be displayed there, only mule logger, right? You can pass the body which you want to display. Now, for that, we define a body field. So this will be my body field. Let's consider I have defined a logger with info with logger level as info. So anytime someone accesses this logger, this will create a logger with level as info and message as default one. We are not defining any message, and here I'm creating a random doc id which will help to create a perfect logger. And description, this is optional. You can define your description you want, or else for now we don't have a description. If you want, you can just say comma description. You can add a description and you can describe. So let's consider in tomorrow, if someone from your team wants to access this, you can use this description across to publish. Now let's consider you want to create a similar logger with level as warning, with a different prefix. You can create multiple like this. Now I created this snippet. Right now I'll just add this snippet here. You have this mule JSON. Now what I do is, once I have my snippet file, I'll go here, and wherever I wanted to access this logger, right, what I'll just say is control space I have. Here you get to see mule dx colon flow mule dx con logger. I think if I go to the snippet file once again and user snippet, so you get to see the logger, everything got generated. There are two options. I can directly select from here. Okay, firstly I selected from here, or we'll try to use the same command. I'll just say control space from my Mac, and I'll just say logger. So here you get to see mule dx colon logger. So now this is the snippet file, and tomorrow let's consider you want to create a similar logger with a different one. Let's consider, I'll just open that file, mule json. One second. I'll just say open file. Don't want to open the file right now, but anyway, so now if I have the logger, right, now what happens here is, so now you get to see the logger have displayed with level as payload. Okay, message as payload info, and logger message as logger id. And now I have another logger which is default logger, which you need to write the message. Now what happens here is, I'll just say a demo message, and I'll try to utilize the doc name as logger. So here you are manually inputting everything, but in the snippet file that you have, it have printed everything by default, which will try to access it from the snippet file that you have. Let me debug this once and see how it is printing. Okay, by the time it debugs, if anyone have any questions, do let me know. We would be happy to answer those.
So, Madhu, any change in the snippet
Hmm.
will impact all across the application, right? I mean,
No, it won't impact. Let's consider you already defined. Let's consider if you add new snippet, it won't impact. It's like your global configuration that you have created. So
right.
whenever you're working from your local anytime, right, that snippet, it will refer to your snippet file. So here you get to see, right, when I just say add here, let's consider, I'll just say add a new flow for reference,
Hmm.
and here this snippet file. So this
Right.
is like a built-in snippet is there. You have your own snippet file. Let's consider I want to update anything. You can click on this one. Let's consider the
Hmm.
same logger. I'll copy and I'll just paste, but here I'll just say warning
Okay.
logger, and here I'll just say, okay. What happens here is, if I go here,
Hmm.
okay, this will not impact my existing flow, but let's consider, I'll just say here, I'll just search for mule dx. Yeah, here you get to see warning logger. Okay, so once you refer, it will not impact your existing flow. Now you're creating your default. So I think we were referring to the example which Ananda mentioned, right? So
Yes.
tomorrow I'll create my name for my snippet file, saying that if someone wants to create http requester, they should use
Hmm.
mule dx colon http requester with hyphen 30 seconds. Let's consider we'll define 30 seconds timeout. So if someone use that, right, you don't need to manually rewrite everything. So whatever you
Okay.
define there, it will get referred here. So that's how snippet file helps in, and this is not for the existing project. So let's consider if you're touching with any of the project, this snippet extension that you're gonna give, this will help. I think we don't have this option in Anypoint Studio. That is what Ananda was mentioning. We don't have this option in MuleSoft or Anypoint Studio, right? So if you want to do, you need to either copy from your existing application and paste it there.
Hmm.
But here it's like you can add it as a component, snipper component, and you can access this any of the new process that you want to add in. But this is accessible only to your local. So it's like once you have written this code and you created a jar, it's done. But if you're touching anything in your local, it's going to help you. And same,
Got
you
it.
can do it in your web version also. You can create the similar snippet file, and you can access this across.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
And okay, I'll try to access this application now. I should see two loggers. Okay. Okay. So here
So, Madhu,
we
one quick time
Hmm.
check. So let us wrap by another 15 minutes. Will be good.
Sure, sure. So here we get to see we have added two loggers. One is with demo and one is with payload. So you get to see the payload logger is also printed successfully. Okay. So anyone have any questions with respect to how the snippet works and how we can do the debugging? Okay then. So with that, so what we do is now I have my API, I have deployed everything. Now what I need to do is I need to deploy this application to Cloud Hub. Now what you can do is how you do it in your local Anypoint Studio. You can just go to the API. I just click on deploy to Cloud Hub. You get to see it's trying to create the jar in the backend. It will try to wrap. I'll just say sandbox. So here, if you see the deployment is trying to start. So what we do is we'll just try to go to my runtime manager and see if it started there. So you get to see it's trying to upload to Cloud Hub. It's like around 43%, 45% it is now still. We'll wait till it completes 100%, but we'll try to verify here. So there are no applications. Once this reaches 100%, you get to see an application will start deploying. 90. Yeah. So we should be able to see it here. Okay, deploying to Cloud Hub. It started. Yeah. Now we were able to deploy this to successfully to Cloud Hub, and now it's the same way how you test your API. It will be the same. Okay, we will not go further here. Okay, now once you deploy your application, so rather than that option you have a different option saying that I'll just search for MuleSoft here, and you get to see deploy to Cloud Hub, and you can use all these options from command directly. Now let's consider you have your API, you don't want to deploy. Let's consider you want to export this. What you can do is right click the project. I think not from here, you get to go um, from here once again. Terminal we already closed. Okay, I wanted to, then I'll use this one then. Okay, let's consider I wanted to export this as a jar and I want to deploy this manually rather than using this deploy to Cloud Hub option. What you can do is right click and you will get an option like this. Let's consider you want to export this so and so jar, you want to open this folder. If you just give permissions, get to see the jar was created successfully. You can use this jar and you can directly deploy in your Cloud Hub. Okay, so till now we should be good. Now we understand how the API YAML is created. From that, how we create project, how we deploy, how we test in the local, and how we add the snippet file. Now what we do is let's consider you have an existing project which you want to import everything in your IDE. For that, what we do is I'll just use Control Command Shift. I'll just say open folder. I have created one desktop. Okay, I just created. I will use this to. Okay, let's consider I have this project which I want to import. Let's consider I'll just give the folder location. It will try to scaffold everything. It will load here. So let's consider you got your Git cloned into any of your local repository. If you want to refer that, you can do this way. You get to see all your APIs here and you can utilize this. And I wanted to add one point. I think Ananda mentioned that. So this is my existing project which I created using my studio. Now what happens here is if you use data view version latest version, right, your application will throw an error saying that it could not understand or it could not read the file. For that we need to add this dependency is important. So in the recent releases also MuleSoft mentioned if you have the latest project which you are trying to import in ACB, you should add this dependency for application to understand the latest data view logic that you have in. Okay, or else it could not understand. Someone has any questions? Okay, then I'll take it as no. So this is what data view is able to understand. Let's consider if you want to write a transformation, this would be the last thing which we try here. Let's consider I want to transform, right? This is what you define in your logic. So here, similarly, I think I don't want to go with transformation, which you already written. Let's consider I want to initialize any Salesforce connector. Let's consider if I want to add any connector reference, right? What I'll do here is I'll just go to connector. Now you have your database connector or Salesforce connector. But let's consider you want to import some connector which you don't have that from your default connected. So what we do is go to import from exchange. I'll just say connected. I'll just say SAP for suppose. Okay, this is how actually we import. If you don't have any connector, I'll just it will try to build and it will update your form with the latest version. So I'm just trying to quickly cover a couple of important points. If you have any questions or confusion, just stop me around, please. And one good thing around is let's consider I have initiated a HTTP listener. Similarly, you can use this for any of the one that you have. Let's consider you created any global configuration for Salesforce connectivity or SAP connectivity. We have an option called test connection. If you define all your properties, if you click on test connection, it will verify the credentials and everything that you have given correct or not. And how you used to test in your Anypoint Studio saying that test the connection. This is how similarly it works. And if you prevent Salesforce username and password, it will go ahead and say that the connection is valid. If there is an issue, it will say connection is invalid. And yeah, teams, I think in interest of the time, I try to wrap it up quickly the last few. If you have any questions or challenges, I would happy to answer. If not, we are. Hmm.
Madhu, can you quickly open the deploy.json just to show that this?
Right, I missed to mention that. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm. Yes, Ananda, you can go ahead and just.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is a one deployment profile. So if first place it is not created, then when you try to deploy the code or cloud hub, that time out when you try to deploy that, this profile will got automatically created. So if you want to change your runtime or anything, you can do even worker size and all.
Right, we can update workers size,
Yeah,
number of workers, and auto start. If you say false, it won't
correct.
automatically start if any failure happens. And runtime also, you can control which runtime you want. So this should be accurate. If there is an issue, let's consider you don't have enough worker size, it will fail the deployment. So I think this deployment JSON file should be important. And one more good thing that you have here an option is let's consider you made the changes in your local and you want to see what are your previous changes, right? You can use this option to get your previous versioning kind of, and you get to see there are good examples that you can use when compared to Studio. There are good options to enhance more from your Anypoint Code Builder. And as we look forward for more and more I think with help of Visual Studio extensions, I think more good options are going to come in. And one with Data View, I think recently they are trying some AI kind of, which will help us to write Data View automatically.
Understood.
Those Einstein. So I think those all will come into picture when you have a Visual Studio extension capability.
Okay. Yep. Thank you, Madhu. Thank you for this insightful session. I'd like to thank Ananda as well. So, guys, if you have any questions, please let us know. Very cool. Thank you, Johnny. Thank you for the feedback. So, the last thing for today, guys, if you can switch on your cameras, I'll just take a pic and just post it on the LinkedIn as well. So, yeah, if you have